imprisoned for 10,000 years. Banished from my own homeland. And now you dare enter my realm. You are not prepared.
World of Warcraft has given us some of the most legendary characters in gaming history. Arthas, Thrall, Varian, the list goes on. But if you ask Warcraft players to name their favorite character, there's one name that will come up again and again. Illidan Stormrage, the Betrayer, the first Demonhunter, and for me personally, probably the perfect anti-hero of the Warcraft universe. He has always been one of my favorite characters, and I mean that quite literally. This guy has been my Blizzard profile picture for as long as I can remember. What always made Illidan so interesting to me was the path he chose. He sacrificed almost everything and embraced the very powers he was fighting against, because he believed that defeating the Burning Legion was worth whatever it would cost him. He became a demon hunter to hunt demons, and he was willing to go further than almost anyone else to do it. I still remember playing Illidan for the first time in Warcraft 3, and I immediately fell in love with both the character and the whole concept of the Demon Hunter. He's basically Warcraft's Batman, dark, misunderstood, willing to cross lines nobody else would cross, and maybe one of the greatest anti-heroes in all of media. This series is different from anything you have seen so far, and trust me when I say you are not prepared. Wait. Let me do this again.
You are not prepared.
But being prepared is only the beginning, because my goal isn't just to follow in Illidan's footsteps. I want to surpass him, hunt my way through Azeroth, and eventually become the most legendary demon hunter in the world
of Warcraft.
And to do that, I've created a pretty simple challenge. From level 1 all the way to level 60, I'm only allowed to kill demons. Every single point of experience has to come from killing demons. The same goes for our equipment. We start with absolutely nothing, and every weapon and every piece of armor we use has to be dropped by a demon. We're also playing solo self-found, which means no trading and no auction house. And since this is World of Warcraft Hardcore, we only get one life. If our Demon Hunter dies at any point before reaching level 60, the hunt is over. The rules are set, so there's only one thing left to do. It's time to create our Demon Hunter. Welcome to Demonlocked. I'm Vagu, and this is my Night Elf Demon Hunter. Cut. There's no such thing as a Night Elf Demon Hunter. Shut up, fool! Like I was saying, my Demon Hunter slashes through hordes of the Burning Legion. Vagu, it's a rogue, not a Demon Hunter. Well, maybe Vagu hacked the game and created a Demon Hunter class. Maybe Vagu is pretty handy with computers. Had that occurred to you, Mr. Condescending Director? I'm Vagu, and I'm a Night Elf Demon Hunter. What's your game?
For 10,000 years, the immortal Night Elves cultivated a druidic society within the shadowed recesses of Ashenvale Forest. Yet recently, the catastrophic invasion of the Burning Legion shattered the tranquility of their ancient civilization. Led by the Archdruid Malfurion Stormrage and the priestess Tyrande Whisperwind, the mighty Night Elves rose to challenge the demonic onslaught. Though victorious, the Night Elves were forced to sacrifice their cherished immortality and watch their beloved forests burn. Seeking to regain their immortality, a number of wayward druids conspired to plant a special tree that would link their spirits to the eternal world. Despite Malfurion's warnings that nature would never bless such a selfish act, the druids planted the great tree Teldrassil off the stormy coasts of northern Kalimdor. Within the twilight boughs of the colossal tree, the wondrous city of Darnassus took root. However, the great tree was not consecrated with nature's blessing, and soon fell prey to the corruption of the burning legion. Now the wildlife, and even the limbs of the great tree itself, are tainted by a growing darkness. As one of the few night elves still left in the world, it is your sworn duty to defend Darnassus and the wild children of nature against the Legion's encroaching corruption.
Meet Demonhunter, just your average night elf kind of guy, whose only purpose in life is to purge every single demon from Azeroth. Now, the rules for Demonlocked are actually pretty simple, but since we're going to be following them all the way to level 60, I figured we need something that's impossible to forget. And what better way to remember the rules of a demonic genocide than with a wholesome little children's rhyme. So here we go. If it is not demonic, we do not touch it. If they've got glowing eyes, they are the ones who dies. If they are human or undead, find a demon there instead. If they are of the demon kin, we'll rip their flesh right from their skin. Pretty easy, huh? Chapter 1. From nothing. With our highly sophisticated Demonhunter code established, the hunt can finally begin. And since every single item we use has to come from a demon, Demonhunter starts his journey exactly as you would expect from the future greatest Demonhunter in Azeroth. Completely naked, without a weapon, and ready to punch some fiends. Our very first Grell gives us 52 experience, and surprisingly, our first piece of equipment as well. A pair of great shoes. They're cloth. They give us a massive 5 armor, and they're definitely not what we're looking for, but considering we were barefoot about 10 seconds ago, I'll take them. Before we can really get started though, we encounter our first major obstacle of the challenge, and it's not a demon. For some reason, my nameplates look completely different from what I'm used to. So the hunt has to be temporarily suspended while I do what every legendary demon hunter would do in this situation and Google the problem. The settings don't help, but eventually I find a console command that resets everything back to default. After restoring some of my usual settings, the nameplates finally look normal again, and we can return to the important part, punching demons. And punching really is all we can do right now. We hit these grells for around 5 damage, while they have somewhere around 70 health. So every single kill takes about 14 hits. A crit for 10 or 11 damage suddenly feels like we've discovered some kind of forbidden power. The grells slowly start giving us more equipment, but most of it is cloth, frayed gloves, frayed pants, all technically better than being naked. But if we're gonna call ourselves a demon hunter, I at least want to look somewhat like one. What we're really looking for is leather. Before we find it, I make the mistake of attacking a level 3 grell. One level doesn't sound much, but when your entire combat strategy consists of punching something in the face until one of you stops moving, it makes a pretty significant difference. Our health keeps dropping until we finally win the fight with just 7 HP remaining. And our reward for nearly ending Demonlocked before it has even properly started is 55 experience. So maybe we'll stick to the level 2s. Except there aren't any. After waiting for our health to regenerate, we continue with the level 3s until the weaker grells finally start respawning, and then we reach level 2. And at almost the same exact moment, one of them gives us exactly what we've been looking for: ragged leather boots. Our first proper piece of leather equipment. That first piece changes the hunt a little. Every grell is just another tiny step towards the next level. But now every loot window could contain another part of our first real set of armor. Soon afterwards, we find a ragged leather belt, and suddenly we have our first little objective beyond simply surviving. If Shadowglen is going to make us punch hundreds of demons, we might as well leave it dressed like a demon hunter in ragged leather. Chapter 2. 100 Demons. By the time we're approaching level 3, the routine has already settled in. Find a Grell, punch it for half a minute, loot whatever it has, wait for the next one and repeat. The upside is that all these demons are slowly financing our journey. They don't carry much, usually just a couple of copper and some vendor trash, but since we're solo self-found, every single copper has to come from somewhere. Grell number 24 finally gets us to level 3, and he also drops ragged leather pants. 3 pieces of leather down, and for the first time Demonhunter is beginning to look slightly less like someone who woke up naked in the woods and slightly more like someone who intentionally came here to hunt demons. It has taken us around 23 minutes to reach level 3, which already tells us quite a lot about how this challenge is going to work. Right now, Shadowglen is perfect. The Grells respawn quickly, they're relatively safe, and there are enough of them to keep us moving, but eventually we're gonna outlevel them, and unlike a normal character, we can't simply walk into the next quest hub and continue from there. Wherever we go, there have to be demons waiting for us. For now, we keep punching. 5 damage becomes 6 every now and then, the Grells become less threatening, and eventually we're killing them quickly enough that we're starting to run out of targets. Somewhere along the way, we find a ragged cloak, which could fill a completely empty equipment slot, and for some reason I decide not to equip it. I have no idea what past Vagu was thinking, but I'm sure this highly experienced demon hunter had his reasons. The kills start blending into one another, and the whole challenge becomes strangely meditative. Somewhere between waiting for respawns and punching the next Grell in the face, I think I reach some kind of demon hunter zen state. But underneath all that repetition, something important is happening. The same level 3 Grells that almost killed us earlier are becoming easier. Our armor is growing piece by piece. Another pair of ragged leather gloves fills one more slot. And even though our damage is still terrible, we can actually feel Demon Hunter becoming stronger. Eventually, the Grells are no longer enough, so we move over to their slightly stronger cousins, the Grellkin. They range from level 3 to 4, and the level 4s can still give us a pretty serious fight, but they're also exactly what we need to keep progressing. One final level 3 Grellkin eventually pushes us to level 4, which leaves only 56 more levels to go. Level 4 also means another visit to our Demon Hunter trainer, although the game seems to be bugged and insists on calling him a rogue trainer. He teaches us stealth and pickpocket, and we head straight back into Shadowglen. The Grellkin become our new targets, and our 10th kill brings the total number of demons hunted so far to exactly 66. If there's a more appropriate number for Demonlocked, I haven't found it yet. Unfortunately, demon number 66 gives us another pair of ragged leather gloves. Then we find another belt, then more equipment we already have. At this point, the demons of Shadowglen seem determined to give us everything except the pieces we're actually missing. They also give us refreshing spring water, which is perfect for regenerating all that mana we're constantly using. Except demon hunters don't use mana, they use fury. And that bar is definitely not energy. WoW Classic is just having some trouble displaying our class correctly. Eventually, after 25 Grellkin and far too many duplicate leather pieces, we reach level 5. By now, Demon Hunter has armor, levels, and more than enough experience punching demons, but there is still one rather embarrassing problem. Our Demon Hunter has never actually held a weapon. A weapon would change everything. Not only would it increase our damage dramatically, it would finally allow us to use the abilities we've been learning. Shadowglen, however, can't give us one. So while we continue hunting for the last pieces of our leather set, I start looking into where we have to go next. On Grellkin number 52, we finally get our ragged leather set. After 108 demons, we have assembled almost everything we wanted from Shadowglen. Almost. Technically, we're still missing the bracers. Technically, they can drop here. Technically, I completely forgot about them. But after 5 levels of hunching Grells, I'm done. Shadowglen has given us everything we really need, and somewhere beyond Dolinar, there is a place filled with stronger demons, better equipment, and most importantly, the possibility of finally finding a weapon. Its name is Fel Rock. Chapter 3, Fel Rock. Before heading there, we make Dolinar our new home and learn first aid. I researched a bit, and the demons ahead can drop linen cloth, which means we can turn their own loot into bandages and finally give ourselves a reliable way to recover health during a fight. Fel Rock lies just north of Dolinar, and almost immediately it rewards us for coming. The very first rascal sprite we kill drops ragged leather bracers, so apparently forgetting to farm them in Shadowglen was the correct strategic decision after all. More importantly, Fel Rock feels completely different from everything we've fought so far. The shadow sprites cast shadow bolts, the rascal sprites use fairy fire, and these demons actually run away when they're close to death. That's already annoying in the open world. Inside a cave, surrounded by other demons and constant respawns can become a serious problem very quickly. Our third sprite gives us the first piece of linen cloth, which immediately becomes our first bandage, and we don't have to wait very long to find out whether learning first aid was worth it. We attack a level 6 shadow sprite. The difference between level 5 and level 6 is immediately obvious. Our health starts dropping much faster than expected, so I break line of sight, use the bandage we just crafted, and go back into the fight. Even with the additional healing, we barely make it through. That one fight answers a question I probably should have asked before walking into the cave. Are we actually ready for Fel Rock? Totally not. We try to find isolated level 5 sprites instead, but the deeper we go, the worse the situation becomes. The demons we've already killed begin respawning behind us. Some of them return at level 6, and suddenly we're standing inside a hardcore cave surrounded by enemies that have already proven they can almost kill us one-on-one. 5 levels, 108 demons, and almost a complete set of leather armor had made me confident enough to enter Fel Rock. It took one level 6 shadow sprite to send us straight back where we came from. The weapon would have to wait. Chapter 4, 200 demons. Returning to Shadowglen puts us in a bit of a weird situation. We've already seen everything this place has to offer. There are no exciting drops left to find, and after everything we've been through so far, the Grells and Grellkin aren't particularly dangerous anymore. We're basically too strong for Shadowglen, but still too weak for Fel Rock, and since there isn't anything in between, we're gonna have to stay here for a while. At least the difference compared to the beginning of our journey is pretty noticeable by now. The same Grellkin that used to bring us dangerously low are barely a threat anymore. Our leather armor is doing its job, so we settle back into our old routine. We kill Grells and Grellkins, we fill our bags, sell whatever we don't need, repair our equipment, and then head straight back out again. There isn't much left to gain here besides experience, but right now that's exactly what we need. Grellkin number 74 eventually gets us to level 6, which means another visit to our definitely not a rogue trainer. This time we learn Backstab, Gouge and Rank 2 of Sinister Strike, giving us several new ways to fight our enemies that would be incredibly useful if the game would finally give us a weapon to use them with. But that's gonna have to wait. Fel Rock already showed us what happens when we get impatient, and even though Shadowglen is becoming painfully easy, I'd rather punch another 100 Grellkin and get an easy level up than fight another level 6 Shadow Sprite right now. And so the punching continues. By now, the demons are more of a test of patience than a test of survival, but slowly the experience adds up until one final level 3 Grellkin gets us to level 7. This time, we gain 1 strength, 2 agility and 1 stamina, which is exactly the combination of stats we came back here for. And after 2 additional levels in Shadowglen, I think we finally reached the point where staying in Shadowglen isn't going to get us much further. Before we leave though, there is one number I want to check. Our kill tracker tells us we've killed 65 Grells and 170 Grellkin since this journey began. That's over 200 demons killed in Shadowglen alone, and somehow, after all of that, Demonhunter has still never held a weapon. But hopefully that's about to change. We Hearthstone back to Dolinar and head north. Chapter 5. Return to Fel Rock. When we return to Fel Rock at level 7, the difference doesn't look particularly impressive at first. We're only dealing around 7 or 8 damage per hit instead of the 6 or 7 we were doing during our first attempt. And we have a little more health to work with. But when your damage numbers are this small to begin with, that single extra point on almost every hit actually makes a noticeable difference. That doesn't mean Fel Rock is suddenly safe though. The level 6 demons can still bring us dangerously low, and since dying here would end the entire challenge, I'm mostly looking for level 5 Rascal Sprites and Shadow Sprites whenever I can find them. The problem is that we can't always choose what the cave gives us, so sooner or later we have to deal with the level 6 mobs as well. This time they are a little bit more manageable, but every fight still requires enough attention that I don't feel comfortable taking any unnecessary risks. As we slowly make our way through the cave, I also start getting a better understanding of how these demons fight. The Shadow Sprites cast Shadow Bolts from range, so instead of simply standing there and taking them, I use the rocks and pillars around the cave to break line of sight and force them to move toward me. The Rascal Sprites are a little more straightforward, although their Fairy Fire reduces our already limited armor and makes their attacks hurt even more. Luckily, the demons also start giving us some tools to make the journey a little safer. The linen cloth they drop can immediately be turned into bandages, and eventually one of the Shadow Sprites drops our first minor healing potion. For a character who isn't allowed to simply buy these things from a vendor, having an emergency heal available on hardcore feels pretty damn good. Apparently, it feels a little too good, because not long afterwards, I somehow convinced myself that fighting 2 Shadow Sprites at the same time might be a reasonable idea. Well, it is not. Even with the extra levels, the better armor, our bandages, and the healing potion, 2 of these things are still more than enough to put us in serious danger. We managed to survive the fight, but it's a useful reminder that being strong enough to return to Fel Rock doesn't mean we're strong enough to do whatever we want in here. While pulling another Rascal Sprite away from the other demons, however, I discover something that makes exploring the cave safer. I drag the sprite toward one of the small ponds, jump far enough into the water to start swimming, and for some reason it stops attacking me. At first, I'm not entirely sure whether that was just a coincidence, so I test it again and get the same result. As long as we can reach the water, the Rascal Sprites reset. Demons apparently cannot swim. That gives us an escape route for the first time, which is especially useful because both types of sprites like to run away when they are low on health. If one of them runs in the wrong direction and brings another demon back with it, we don't necessarily have to commit to a fight we can't win. We can retreat to the pond, reset everything, and try again. And it doesn't take very long before a fleeing sprite gives us an opportunity to test exactly that. With the pond nearby, I start feeling much more comfortable working my way through Fel Rock, although we're still taking things slowly and trying to isolate the lower level demons whenever possible. We collect more linen cloth, our first aid slowly improves, and the number of dead sprites continues to rise. But the one thing we're actually hoping to find still refuses to drop. After 16 Shadow Sprites and 8 Rascal Sprites, we still don't have a weapon. We do get a worn leather vest, which is a nice armor upgrade, and at some point we find a loose chain cloak with exactly the same armor as the cloak we're already wearing. The only meaningful difference is that one is blue and the other one is gray. So naturally, I spent more time thinking about that decision than I probably should before sticking with the gray one. The longer we stay in the cave though, the easier it becomes to get comfortable with the same fights over and over again, and that's probably the most dangerous thing that can happen in hardcore. During another pull, I lose control of the situation and instinctively start running toward our pond, only to realize that this time there is a shadow sprite standing directly between us and the escape route. We somehow manage to reach the water and reset the fight, but that one gets a lot closer than I would have liked. The pond gives us a way out of bad situations, but it doesn't make us invincible, and Fel Rock is still dangerous enough that one bad pull, one unfortunate respawn, or a few seconds of not paying attention could end Demonlocked right here. For now though, we're still alive. We're stronger than we were when Fel Rock sent us back to Shadowglen, and for the first time we're actually capable of staying inside this cave. Now we just need it to give us a weapon. Chapter 6. Unworthy of a Blade. After another quick trip to Dolinar to empty our bags and repair our equipment, we head straight back to Fel Rock. By now, we know that we're strong enough to survive here. We've found a couple of ways to escape if things go wrong, and there really is only one thing left that we're looking for. We need a dagger. It doesn't take long before one of the shadow sprites actually drops our very first weapon. And for a moment, it looks like Fel Rock has finally decided to give us what we've been waiting for. Unfortunately, when I open the loot window, I'm looking at a crude bastard sword. It's a two-handed sword, which means we obviously can't use it, but even a one-handed sword wouldn't help us right now, because our Demonhunter apparently hasn't figured out how those work either. We stuff it in our bags and continue searching, only for Fel Rock to make fun of us again a few demons later when the next weapon drops. This time it's a cracked buckler, a shield, which would be great if we were looking for one, since we're trying to become the greatest demon hunter in Azeroth. Beating the Burning Legion to death with a piece of broken wood isn't really what I had in mind. While Fel Rock seems determined to give us every possible way of fighting except the one we can actually use, the demons are at least making us stronger in other ways. Every piece of linen cloth gives us another potential bandage. Another minor healing potion gives us a little more room for mistakes, and a pair of worn leather gloves provides another small armor upgrade. None of these things solve our biggest problem, but together they make every fight a little safer, which means we can slowly start taking the hunt deeper into the cave. The further we go, however, the further we move away from the pond that has saved us several times already, and eventually that becomes a problem. During one of the fights, a shadow sprite suddenly starts evading our attacks, regenerates the health we just spent ages punching away, and then immediately comes back for us. Our usual escape route is too far away, so I head toward another body of water deeper inside Fel Rock, without actually knowing whether it will work the same way. Luckily it does, although this one comes with a small complication. The shadow sprites can still hit us with shadow balls from outside the water, so to properly break line of sight, we have to dive underneath the surface and stay there until the fight resets. Apparently, hiding from demons at the bottom of a cave pond is now a legitimate demon hunter technique. Although in hardcore, it also means that drowning has somehow made its way back onto the growing list of things that could end this challenge. Having another place to retreat gives us the confidence to explore further, where the demons start becoming stronger again. There are level 7 enemies down here as well, but considering we're still fighting with our bare hands, I'm not particularly interested in proving anything to them yet. Instead, I mostly stick to the level 6 sprites and continue looking for the one drop that would finally change the way we can play this character. At this point, we've been punching demons for hours. We cleared our way through Shadowglen, came to Fel Rock far too early, got sent back, killed another mountain of Grells and Grelkins, returned 2 levels stronger, and slowly learned how to survive inside this cave. Along the way, the demons have given us armor, potions, bandages, a 2-handed sword, and even a shield, but somehow the future greatest demon hunter in Azeroth is still running around Fel Rock without a weapon. And then Another level 6 Rascal Sprite dies. Chapter 7. To wield a blade. Look at this. Sharp leather opener. It's a dagger, not a particularly good dagger either. In fact, the sharp leather opener is the weakest dagger in World of Warcraft Classic that can drop from random mobs in the open world, and it is about as unimpressive as the name suggests. But after everything it took to get here, I couldn't care less. After hours of punching hundreds of demons with our bare hands, Demonhunter finally has a weapon he can actually use. Our dagger skill starts at 1. So technically Demonhunter has absolutely no idea what he's doing with it, but even then, the difference is noticeable from the very first fight. As our weapon skill starts improving, the demons that used to take forever to punch down begin losing health at a pace we've simply never seen before. But just look at this. More importantly, we can finally use all those abilities our Demonhunter trainer has been teaching us. Sinister Strike gives us something better to spend our fury on, or energy, if you insist on believing what the game tells you. And Gouge completely changes the way we can approach a fight. We can interrupt casts, create enough breathing room to use one of our linen bandages, and then continue fighting without having to retreat to a pond every time our health gets uncomfortable. Backstab gives us another source of damage whenever we can get into position. And after 7 levels of punching demons, combat finally involves considerably more than standing in front of something and hoping it dies before we do. Now that we finally have a weapon, I want to see what Demonhunter can actually do with it. So instead of continuing to search for the safest level 6 sprites, we start pushing deeper into Fel Rock and taking on some of the level 7 dark sprites that I deliberately avoided before. Their dark and vision gives us a 25% chance to miss our attacks, and they're still dangerous enough that I don't want to get careless. But for the first time, these stronger enemies feel like something we can actually hunt rather than something we have to avoid. We still use everything Fel Rock has taught us along the way. We break line of sight whenever it gives us an advantage. Our Gouge to interrupt casts and keep the pawns in mind if a pool gets out of control. But there's an important difference now. We're not using these things just to somehow survive every fight anymore. We're using them to make fights that we can already win even safer. Only a short while ago, we were surviving Fel Rock by running into pawns whenever something went wrong. Now we're deliberately making our way deeper inside because we want to know what else is waiting for us. Eventually, we reach the deepest part of the cave, where the vicious grells are noticeably stronger than the rascal sprites we've been fighting near the entrance. They hit harder and still have to be taken seriously, but with our first weapon in hand, we can start clearing them one by one, which is something I wouldn't even have considered when we first arrived here at level 5. And while we're moving our way through them, I noticed something moving at the back of the cave. At first, he doesn't look particularly special. He's another Grell, level 6, patrolling between the other demons we've been fighting, but unlike all of them, this one has a name, Thragal, our first rare demon. I don't know what abilities he has, I don't know how dangerous he's gonna be, and most importantly, I have absolutely no idea what he might be carrying. But after everything we've been through in Fel Rock, seeing a rare demon standing in front of us doesn't make me wonder whether we should turn around anymore. It makes me wonder what he's going to drop. Demonhunter started this journey completely naked, without a weapon, and barely capable of surviving a level 3 Grell. Hundreds of demons later, we've been driven out of Fel Rock, returned 2 levels stronger, learned how to survive inside the cave, and finally found the first blade of our journey. Now there's a rare demon waiting for us at the very back of Fel Rock, but Thraggle can wait until next time. The hunt continues. Before we end this video, I just want to talk about something for a moment, because this video is actually my little special for reaching 1000 subscribers here on YouTube. And I know that 1000 subscribers might not sound like a crazy number in the grand scheme of things, but the fact that by now over 1000 people decided that they want to see more of the stuff I make is still pretty wild to me. So genuinely, thank you to everyone who supported my journey. Thank you to everyone who subscribed, watched one of my videos, left a comment, or has been following any of my challenges so far. I really appreciate it. I also want to give some credit to ScorpRogue, who made a series called Can You Reach 60 by Only Killing Demons? His challenge in regular WoW Classic was one of the inspirations behind Demonlocked. And when I saw the idea, I really wanted to see what would happen if I took that concept into hardcore and turned it into my own challenge. And Demonlocked itself is also gonna be part of something a little bigger. I want to use this series to take some of the most iconic characters in World of Warcraft and create challenges around them with one simple goal: somehow surpass them. This time we started with Illidan Stormrage, and considering Demonhunter began the journey completely naked and punching grills with his bare hands, I'd say finding our first blade and making it all the way through Fel Rock for the first time has brought us at least a tiny bit closer. There's obviously still a very long way to go before we have any right to compare our character to Illidan, but that's kind of the point. And if you want to see how his hunt continues, how about we make part 2 our 2000 subscriber special? Until then, don't worry, Vagu's Legacy Craft Challenge is still going strong as well. This is not replacing that series, and there will be a brand new Legacy Craft video right here on the channel next week. So thank you again for 1000 subscribers, seriously. Having 1000 of you here means a lot to me, and I'm really excited to see where all of these challenges take us next. Until then, stay safe and out of caves, unless it's Fel Rock and you're only allowed to kill demons.